How do you feel about the crypto market right now? Are you fearful? Greedy? Maybe you're somewhere in between. You've probably noticed that these emotions play a role in your investment decisions. Even though you know technical and fundamental analysis is important, oftentimes when the rubber hits the road, it's your emotions behind the wheel. This is especially true in cryptocurrency, where emotions run high 24/7 as the market moves. This creates a lot of price volatility, which can be stressful, but also presents an opportunity to make money if you can understand the emotions of others and master your own. Today, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about sentiment analysis. I'll explain what it is, how it works, I'll examine a few free sentiment analysis indicators and tools, and how you can use them to potentially predict the next pump or dump for your favorite cryptos. I know emotions are running high, but before we head on, there are some terms and conditions with which you need to comply. By watching this video, you agree that nothing you hear or see is financial or investment advice. That's because I'm not licensed to do that, so it wouldn't be right. Everything here is just for laughs and learning. Talk to your financial advisor if you need help with earning. If you're new here, an introduction is in order. My name is Guy and I am a crypto hoarder. My addiction compels me to make the highest quality crypto content on the tube. Coins, tokens, tutorials, news, and market moves. I do it for the knowledge and not just the views. If you're as crypto obsessed as I am, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell as fast as you can. Take note of the timestamps I've sprinkled down below. You can use them to skip ahead if you see any topics you already know. I recommend watching the whole way through so that this video gets found by other people like you. And with that out of the way, let's see what sentiment analysis is and why it's been all the rage. Sentiment analysis has technically been around as long as written language, but it wasn't until the 1950s that it became an official topic of study in the field of linguistics. Most of the research back then involved trying to understand how meaningful sentences are formed and how this information could be used to improve machine translation. This image shows the number of research papers about sentiment analysis published between 1950 and 2015. As you can see, something changed in the early 2000s. This change was the rise of social media, which began with MySpace in 2003. Not surprisingly, a lot of content being generated by users on social media back then had a political bent. This kind of information is extremely valuable to a politician or political group looking to appeal to the masses in their election campaigns. The only problem is that it's impossible to read every single post coming from every single user to figure out what's hot and what's not with potential voters. So to solve this problem, politicians started using sentiment analysis on publicly available social media posts to see which way the wind was blowing on certain topics. The first time social media sentiment analysis was used in a political campaign was during the 2008 presidential election. Sentiment analysis is believed to have played a big role in Barack Obama's win. By that time, other industries had picked up on the promise of sentiment analysis, specifically online retailers like Amazon, which started becoming popular in 2005. Amazon was the first online business to allow customers to leave reviews, and in its early days, Jeff Bezos himself would personally respond to their feedback. As Amazon grew, Jeff was replaced by an ever larger team of customer service staff, followed by a dedicated team of customer support representatives, which eventually also became over-encumbered by customer inquiries. Naturally, the solution was sentiment analysis. Rather than read every single comment, question, or concern about a product or service, Amazon used sentiment analysis tools to classify everything automatically according to urgency and content. At that point, a human could be brought in to repair the damage or respond to the comment. Sentiment analysis inevitably spilled over into social media marketing, where it's used to assess things like brand perception, the effectiveness of marketing campaigns, and consumer preference. By 2010, sentiment analysis had become a cornerstone of market analysis as well. Now, the use of sentiment analysis in trading and investing has increased as sentiment analysis technologies become more advanced and accurate. So, what exactly is sentiment analysis and how does it work? In a sentence, sentiment analysis involves analyzing a text to determine whether it is positive, negative, or neutral. This is done by assigning a score to each word depending on how negative or positive it is, and then adding all those scores together to see what the overall sentiment of the text is. Typically, this score ranges between -1 and +1, with -1 being very negative sentiment and +1 being very positive sentiment. Now, I know it's technically a bit more complicated than this, but let's roll with it. Here's a simple example of how this works. A few weeks back, I posted a video with less than optimal audio quality. By the time I noticed, it was too late to take it down, so I left it up. Now, as you can imagine, I got a few comments from people pointing out that the audio in that video, which shall not be named, was a bit spotty. Now, suppose I wanted to use sentiment analysis to see just how much my audio issue was bothering my viewers without having to read through every single comment. What I would do is create a sentiment analysis tool that looks at every comment which mentions the word audio or sound, give it a sentiment score, and add them all together to see what the average sentiment is. Let's say one of these comments was, "This video is awesome, but the audio could be better." This comment would be picked up by the sentiment analysis tool because it mentions audio. The next thing the sentiment analysis tool would do is eliminate every word or phrase that doesn't carry an emotional weight. So, after doing that, the only thing left is awesome and could be better. To identify emotional words and assign them a positive or negative sentiment score, most sentiment analysis tools will reference something called a lexicon. This is basically a huge database of words and phrases that were manually coded as positive or negative on a -1 to +1 scale by a human. For the sake of simplicity, let's say the word awesome has a sentiment score of +1 and the phrase could be better has a sentiment score of -0.25. Now, I reckon that's reasonable because the word awesome is up there with other words like fantastic and phenomenal, whereas the phrase could be better isn't all the way down there with it's total shit, for example. Anyways, the sentiment score for this comment would be +0.75. Now, let's say there were just two other comments which mentioned audio or sound with sentiment scores of -0.5 and +0.75. The total sentiment score for all audio-related comments would be +1, which is positive. If this is not far off from the sentiment I typically find in the comments section of my other videos, this means that the audio issue was probably not that big of a deal. Now, if I wanted to go one step further, I could give additional weight to the comments with more likes to get an even clearer view of the audio complaints in the comments section. But let's not go there. If you're wondering why sentiment analysis is so important for crypto trading, consider this. What ultimately moves the price of a crypto up or down is how investors feel about it. Put differently, the emotion comes first and the reaction comes second. What this means is that if you can detect the emotions of investors in advance with sentiment analysis on, say, social media platforms like Twitter and Reddit, you could theoretically predict the price action of any cryptocurrency. There is even research to back this up, but it comes with a few caveats that I will explain later on. As you might have guessed, sentiment analysis is used by most smart money, specifically hedge funds. Some believe this is why they always seem to be one step ahead of the crypto market. Usually, the sentiment analysis tools institutional investors use cost thousands, if not millions of dollars per year, which is not something most of us can afford. Thankfully, there's no shortage of free sentiment analysis indicators out there, and when used correctly, they can be almost as effective as the most expensive sentiment analysis indicators money can buy. One of the most popular cost-free sentiment analysis indicators in cryptocurrency is the Fear and Greed Index. The Fear and Greed Index for crypto is modeled after the Fear and Greed Index for the stock market, which was created by CNN's financial division. Like the Fear and Greed Index for the stock market, the Fear and Greed Index for cryptocurrency is created using an aggregate of measures that are also worth looking at separately. These are market volatility, trading volume, social media sentiment, Bitcoin dominance, and Google search trends. When market volatility is high, trading volume is low, social media sentiment is negative, Bitcoin dominance is high, and Google search trends are low, you end up deep in the fear territory, like we are now. Conversely, if market volatility is relatively low, trading volume is high, social media sentiment is positive, Bitcoin dominance is low, and Google search trends are high, the crypto market is greedy. Those were the good old days, huh? Now, the Fear and Greed Index is useful for trading on longer timeframes. By that, I mean a day or more. This is because the Fear and Greed Index is only updated once each day. In terms of how to trade using this indicator, in the words of Warren Buffett, quote, "Be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy." Even so, it's also important to pay attention to any trends you see on the Fear and Greed Index, and these can be found by just scrolling down the page on this website, which I'll leave in the video description. As you can see here, we seem to have bottomed out in terms of fear, and this could mean that we're about to see a reversal in the same way we did last fall. Pro tip, remember to pay attention to what the Fear and Greed Index is saying for the stock market too, since it's likely to have an effect on the crypto market. The stock market gives you a better vantage point on how the rest of the market is feeling, and if investors are starting to get anxious, they're likely to pull out of risky assets like cryptocurrencies first. You can learn more about where cryptocurrency fits in the broader financial markets and how this influences their prices by clicking that link up there in the top right. Another popular cost-free sentiment analysis indicator in cryptocurrency is the Bull and Bear Index created by Augmento. In contrast to the Fear and Greed Index, the Bull and Bear Index focuses exclusively on Bitcoin sentiment on social media platforms, specifically Bitcoin Talk, Reddit, and Twitter. More importantly, the Bull and Bear Index is updated every hour, which makes it more suitable for active day trading. As you can see, the index also includes a chart which shows you how sentiment is looking on each social media platform, in addition to their aggregated sentiment. What's cool about the Bull and Bear Index is that it doesn't just track sentiment, but it also tracks the hot topics being discussed on all of these platforms. These can be seen by hovering your mouse over the graph. There are two ways you can use the Bull and Bear Index for trading. Either you can use the same strategy of being greedy when the market is fearful and being fearful when the market is greedy, or you can do the exact opposite. This ultimately depends on what the market is doing and which cryptocurrency you're trading. If you see that sentiment is increasing but prices haven't moved yet, this might be an opportunity to get in early before the pump comes. If you see that sentiment is still increasing but prices have started to fall, it might be time to sell while the noobs have their backs turned. If sentiment is mixed but the trend is strong, follow the trend because the trend is your friend, as they say. If the market is trading sideways and sentiment continues to fall, this suggests a reversal could be on the horizon. Now, this sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it ties into the fact that institutions are also using sentiment analysis indicators in their trading. If they see that sentiment is decreasing while the market is flat, this means that everyone is expecting another drop. To shake out leverage traders and cause people to FOMO in, they pump the price in a contrarian move. The opposite is true if sentiment is increasing while prices are flat, which is what I'm seeing now. Now, in my experience, this contrarian sentiment analysis technique works best with large cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Sentiment-based cryptocurrency trading strategies are a bit different when you're dealing with altcoins, and luckily there are a few free sentiment analysis indicators for those too. One of the best free and easy-to-use sentiment analysis tools for larger cap altcoins that I was able to find is Bison's Cryptoradar, which exists both as a website and a mobile app. The Cryptoradar tracks social media sentiment for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, and XRP in real time. The position of each of these cryptocurrencies on the radar is determined by two things. The number of tweets about each of these cryptocurrencies determines how far out they are from the middle. Logically, the further out they are, the more they're being mentioned in tweets. The sentiment in these tweets determines whether the cryptocurrency is on the left side or the right side of the radar. Logically, the left side is negative sentiment and the right side is positive sentiment. As I mentioned a few moments ago, the Cryptoradar is updated in real time, which means that it's an ideal indicator for day trading. However, before you run out and buy XRP, remember that this isn't the only indicator you should be using as part of your sentiment analysis assessment, much less your trading strategy. If you happen to download the Bison Cryptoradar app, be aware that you must complete KYC, and any cryptocurrency you buy is held in custody, i.e. not by you. Also, chances are your favorite altcoins aren't on the Cryptoradar, and that means you'll have to go elsewhere for sentiment data about those. Your two best options in this case are Santiment and LunarCrush. Both sentiment analysis platforms are packed with features and offer both free and paid options. If you're not a fan of making accounts, LunarCrush is probably your best bet. You can see just about everything without having to make an account, and you're given more than enough information about social media activity than you probably know what to do with. In addition to tracking social sentiment, LunarCrush tracks dozens of similar metrics such as engagement with any social media posts which mention the cryptocurrency. LunarCrush even tracks the top influencers for the coin or token you've selected. The best part is that LunarCrush tracks over 2,000 cryptocurrencies, and you can rank them using any of the 27 sentiment and price-based indicators LunarCrush offers. LunarCrush can be a bit overwhelming for this reason, which is why I personally prefer Santiment. Santiment also doesn't require you to make an account to see most metrics, but it's a bit more convenient to use if you do, as it unlocks more features even with the free version. Like LunarCrush, Santiment tracks a series of social sentiment metrics using data from Twitter, Reddit, and even Telegram for nearly 2,000 coins and tokens. There are way too many features for me to demo here, so you'll have to go and play around with those on your own time. Before you do, though, there are a few things you should know about sentiment analysis trading when it comes to mid and small cap altcoins. Earlier on in the video, I mentioned that there is research which suggests that you can use sentiment analysis to predict the price of cryptocurrencies. Now, a more accurate term would be forecasting prices, since prediction is not possible with sentiment analysis, at least not yet. Semantics aside, sentiment analysis's forecasting features are more powerful for mid and small cap altcoins. This is understandable, given that their price discovery is more organic, as they're not the focus of market manipulation by institutions. Even though many mid and small cap altcoins are also manipulated from time to time, usually that manipulation is coordinated through social media, mainly Telegram and occasionally Reddit. Because most, if not all, this information is out in the open, sentiment analysis indicators can often let you get in early and sell right as that pump is peaking. The only problem is that sometimes mid and small cap altcoins don't have enough trading volume or sentiment data to know for sure that a pump is coming. You could see social sentiment go parabolic while prices remain flat, and that could be because the amount of social media chatter that coin or token sees on a regular day is next to nothing. Keep this in mind before you FOMO into any altcoins with promising social sentiment scores, and always do your research to see exactly how the platform you're using is coming up with those numbers. If you do happen to get in early on a crazy altcoin trade, you can use my video about how to spot the top to help you pull out. Link is up there in the top right. Sentiment analysis is probably the most underrated way of analysing cryptocurrency price action. This is unfortunate but understandable when you consider how new this technology is and how hard it is to develop a decent sentiment analysis tool. Cryptocurrency vocabulary is very different from your average banter, and it's something that evolves just as quickly as the crypto industry. Developing a program that can account for all these nuances is arguably impossible, and that's why we have yet to see sentiment analysis go mainstream. Oddly enough, though, one of the most popular indicators in cryptocurrency is based on sentiment. The Fear and Greed Index alone is probably more than enough for the average long-term crypto trader, and is an indicator that should be used in tandem with technical analysis. Though there are clearly many other sentiment analysis indicators out there, they're typically much more complex and also quite new, and that means that nobody really knows how to use them, not even me. Platforms like LunarCrush and Santiment are the prime providers of these next-generation sentiment indicators, and I know there are many more that I didn't mention today. Now, if you have the time to play around on these platforms, I strongly recommend doing so. You might just find an indicator or two that do a surprisingly good job of forecasting the price of your favorite cryptos. This is something that you'll ultimately have to test yourself, and I reckon this video has given you the tools to do just that. Again, remember to check where all that data is coming from, and don't you dare forget about those fundamentals. If you enjoyed today's Crypto Flick, let me know by giving that like button a click. If you plan on visiting again, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so you know when the next video makes it around the bend. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Telegram for daily crypto market updates, memes, and other stuff that you'll love. If you want to know which cryptocurrencies I hold in my personal portfolio, all you have to do is subscribe to my weekly newsletter. It's free of fluff and full of stuff that will make those weak hands tough. All that's missing is a crypto outfit, and you can get yours at the Coin Bureau merch store. Links to all these resources are sitting down there in the video description. If you made it this far, hats off to you. That's all I've got for today, but I'll be back before you know it.